This is Radar on the Radar Entertainment blog, coming to you with an actual video about the NBA trade deadline recap of this 21-2022 NBA season, where there was a lot of big time moves that happened, and I will get to my opinions on these moves right away. First big move was James Harden, the man who knew he wasn't going to get signed in Oklahoma City because they're a small town team, forced his way into Houston. Then he went to Houston and they tried him out with Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, and Russell Westbrook, and it all didn't work out, and he didn't want to be there, and he went through a bunch of head coaches, so he forced his way to the Nets in these three-way trades, and he was with the Nets. The problem was he never was healthy, Kevin Durant was never healthy, and Kyrie was never healthy, and now with the whole unvaccinated and only playing in certain states that allow you to be inside without being vaccinated, they never really played together. They never lived up to their potential. Even when they're in the playoffs, they didn't have all three. And on paper, if you have all three guys, nobody's going to stop them. They're three of the best offensive players of all time. Kevin Durant is an underrated defensive player. But again, they're three of the greatest offensive players. Problem is, they never play together. So the Nets were trying to trade Kyrie Irving because they would probably rather have a center and some more defense and some more shooting off the bench if they could just trade up Kyrie Irving. Well, guess what? Nobody wants Kyrie Irving if he can't stay healthy. He's got all these weird opinions and doing all these things instead of actually playing basketball. So they're not sure if he wants to play basketball. And number three is he's unvaccinated, so he can only be a part-time player, so nobody wants him. So they're like, well, James Harden's going to be a free agent. We're not sure if he's going to stay here because I don't think he wants to deal with the Kyrie Irving stuff. He and Kevin Durant are not the best of buddies like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are. So they trade him to the Sixers, where Daryl Morey, the former Rockets GM, goes, I get this guy finally. And so he goes, Ben Simmons doesn't want to be here. He's racking up fines, doesn't want to play. Ben Simmons can't shoot threes, doesn't want to shoot threes, doesn't really be good at shooting free throws. He's kind of overrated. He's a great defensive player. He's super tall and athletic and can be is really the size of a point forward like Magic Johnson is. He's not the typical size for a point guard. But the fact that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are the guys who want the ball in your hand, I don't know how it's going to work with Ben Simmons when he comes back and they all play at the same time, because he's going to want the ball in his hands because he's not going to stand on the perimeter and shoot a three. He's not going to stand in the paint because the Nets have LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin, who are mid-range guys. They're not really three-point shooters. They don't have a guy who can shoot threes. And now Andre Drummond gets traded over there. He's going to take up the paint. So where is Ben Simmons going to play? Yes, getting Seth Curry to go with Patty Mills. They got two sharp-shooting three-pointers, with Joe Harris off the bench or starting. That's a good team. And then with James Harden, when he played with Clint Capella, he just threw the ball inside of him. He didn't really give him the ball. The Sixers are running through Joel Embiid. He's the guy. No, it doesn't matter if you got Tobias Harris, you got Seth Curry, or even when Ben Simmons was out there. It's all going through Joel Embiid. So how was Joel Embiid and James Harden going to work? But James Harden wants the ball in his hand. He shoots a lot. He's a shooting guard, but he spent a couple seasons as the point guard in Houston under Mike D'Antoni. He is going to want the ball in his hand, and he's going to want to be the main guy. The problem is Joel Embiid's the main guy, and you got to get him. So I don't know if those two are going to work together. You lose Joel Embiid's backup and Andre Drummond, which would help out in the playoffs, have a good backup center. And you also lose Seth Curry's three-point shooting on this team. So you're going to rely more on the younger guys in the roster who are inexperienced. Whatever Ben Simmons does play, it's not going to work out. So I feel like this trade is tanking the fact that now, Joel Embiid and James Harden, I don't know how they're going to work together. And I don't know how Ben Simmons is going to work in this situation with whenever Durant comes back from his injury. So those two teams, they're going to have to try to figure it out before the playoffs. So that helps the Bucks, Miami, even Boston and the Bulls, and the young Cavaliers that, they got to figure out all of their chemistry issues and how that's going to work. The next thing was Kristaps Zingas got traded for a second time in his career. Him and a second-round pick is going to Washington for Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. Davis Bertans will help out Luka Doncic because he is a small forward, but he's also a stretch four, like Porzingis. He's not as tall as Porzingis, but he's a lot more healthy. He played through injuries before, so he's not going to miss time. And he's a tall guy, so he'll rebound. And you can play him at the stretch 5-2 like you did Porzingis, but this will help them out because that's instant scoring. Spencer Dinwiddie, I don't know how that's going to work because he's a good pass-first point guard, and Luka Doncic is the point guard, even though he's not the size of a point guard. He's more the size of a wing player. he's probably going to be the guy leading the point guard off the bench, so that makes their bench better. Porzingis never stayed healthy. Doesn't play great defense. He's so tall, not the world's greatest rebounder. He doesn't want to play center. He wants to be a Dirk Nowitzki guy, a power forward. Even though Dwight Powell and a few other guys, not named Boban, are not 7 feet tall, they're not really centers. They're not shot blockers. They're okay. Back when the day of power forwards were a thing. So I don't know what the Wizards are going to do because you cleared out Davis Bertans, but you still have Hachimura and you still got the Israeli guy as well. And the both of them, what the thing between Devi and the Hachimura are, their games are offensively shooting like small forwards, but they're close to 6'10", almost 7 feet tall, so they're more like stretch four. And with Denji, he's more of a point forward. Now without Spencer Dinwiddie, the question is, with Bradley Beal out for the year, will he go back to being the point forward he was when he was playing in Israel and overseas that he couldn't do when Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal were here and now Spencer Dinwiddie was here? So that may help him out in his development. And Rory Hachimura, he can actually play alongside Porzingis, and that would be interesting. One a small forward and one a power forward, because then you get like, wow, we got all these big guys who can shoot threes. So I don't know how healthy Porzingis is going to be and help the Wizards, but the Wizards earlier this year were surprised. But without Bradley Beal, I don't know if they're going to be a playoff team. Now, the Celtics, they traded for Josh Richardson because he now gets to come off the bench and all the pressure's off him, and I'm like, cool. Because it didn't work out in Dallas, and obviously it didn't work out in Miami and Philadelphia. So now you're like, okay, he's having a good season off the bench. The Celtics got Dennis Schroeder, but they're like, nah, we're going to trade Dennis Schroeder. They go out and get Derek White. So the Spurs first let Patty Mills leave in free agency, and now they trade Derek White. So now they're down to just Dejounte Murray at point guard, and Lonnie Walker and this Keldon Johnson guy at the 2-guard spot. So they had this gluttony of guards, the Spurs, and now they're gone. I guess I got to trust Greg Popovich in saying that he had too many point guards, then there's not enough time, and you want Dejounte Murray to get all the minutes at point guard, and you want Keldon Johnson to get all the minutes at the shooting guard position. That's cool and dandy. But now the Celtics have a real point guard in Derek White. He's a good perimeter defender, he's a pretty good three-point shooter, and he can handle the ball. Now, I don't know how much handling the ball he's going to have because Tatum and Brown are the two main options. But he is definitely a better player than Josh Richardson. So that is an immediate impact to the starting lineup. But then they go ahead and trade a Romeo Langford and a first-round pick. So I don't know if Derek White is worth the Celtics first-round pick. Even if the Celtics finish with a top 5 seed in the East, their first-round pick is not going to be good. And the Spurs are always good at drafting guys late in the first round, second round that you never heard of, and they get swap picks. So the Spurs get 2 potentially better draft picks. Then, because they have Derek White and we don't need Dennis Schroeder got traded to the Rockets, who are not going anywhere, and they have a bunch of young guards and Porter and their first-round pick. So it's like Green. So it's like, why do we really need Schroeder? So he's a potential buyout candidate to go to a team because this is not. The Rockets don't need him. But then the Celtics make no sense. They get Daniel Tice back. They traded this guy to the Bulls. Okay? And the Bulls had him briefly last year, and then he left and go to free agency, went to the Rockets. So if they really were in love with this guy, they shouldn't have traded him in the first place. But basically, to get Tice back, they gave up Enes Kanter freedom. So I like that they had Enes Kanter on their team and Al Horford because the Celtics didn't have a lot of size with Robert Williams the previous year. So I guess Daniel Tice fits their system better than Enes Kanter, and that's just, you got to believe in Brad Stevens, the GM, the former coach, knowing the system with the rookie head coach, that they know what they're doing there. So that's going to be like a wash because I feel like Enes Kanter and Dennis Schroeder, the Rockets are going to buy the two of them out, and they're going to go elsewhere, and the Celtics get Daniel Tice and Derek White, and they think they're improving their team. There's Bruno Fernando, dude, he's been around the league for a long time, so maybe the Rockets will hold on to him. Now, this is interesting. The Kings get Dante DiVincenzo, who the Bucks really like his perimeter defense and his three-point shooting. So they're like, yeah, we don't need him. So they also get themselves Serge Ibaka in this weird trade. Serge Ibaka just helps them out being they're already big with Lopez and Giannis and Bobby Portis. So that just gives them another big who could also step out and shoot the three, but he's also a rim protector. So the Bucks just fortified their front court. That's the thing. So I don't really get that trade. It doesn't really do that much for the Bucks. You know, they get 2 second-round picks and cash. Like, the Bucks are a playoff team. They just won a championship. They don't really need second-round picks or the money. Like, they're trying to win now. So Serge Ibaka is more of a win-now player than DiVincenzo. That's cool. So the Kings just revamped their team there because they get Josh Jackson, a young player, along with DiVincenzo. So they get 2 young wings. They get Trey Lyle to be a backup big man, even though they're not going anywhere. And they get the draft rights to this guy named David Minchinu. So again, they're trying to rebuild. So you get 2 young players and the draft right to somebody. That's a good deal. Trey Lyles could be a buyout candidate. He could be an expiring contract. It's all these different things with him. Pistons, though, get Marvin Bagley, which I don't get. They got this Isaiah Stewart. They got this Christian Stewart guy on their roster. And they got Sadiq Bey, and they got Jerry Grant. So right now, I felt like the Pistons, they like Bey, they like Stewart, and they like Grant, even though they're trying to trade him. But they have their front court set. Marvin Bagley was upset in Sacramento because they were playing guys, in his opinion, in my opinion, who aren't as good as him. But of course, now Marvin Bagley gets to go to a team that already has a set front court and he'll have to come off the bench, which I don't get it. The whole point was trying to help him go somewhere else. That's where I don't get that trade for the Pistons getting Bagley. For them, getting rid of Trey Lyles and some other guys, who really cares? Then the Clippers get Rodney Hood. That's, again, helping them out because Rodney Hood, when he's on fire, he's a great three-point shooter and a good wing defender. He's a 3-and-D guy. So they help out the Clippers, who are in the A seed right now. They get the Semi-Ole dude, again, just gives the Clippers depth on their team. And they get the draft rights to this Vanja Markovic dude. Again, the Clippers right now, they're mostly a playoff team, even though they have no Kawhi Leonard or Paul George. This guy doesn't, the draft rights don't really help. And the Hornets made a trade. They get Montrezl Harrell. So they get themselves an undersized center, but the dude is a great rebounder, shot blocker. Like, that's a good move for them. And all they did was give up Ish Smith the backup point guard. The Hornets really don't need a backup point guard. We got Lonzo Ball and Terry Rozier are both point guards on the roster. So who needs Ish Smith? He's a third ball handler on the team. This Vernon Casey dude, I don't know anything about him. And the Wizards get a second-round pick. So now that I mentioned with Denji being the point forward, I don't know if Ish Smith is going to take away the point guard responsibilities that he should have. But again, Wizards, I'm not sure if they're going to the playoffs anyway without Bradley Beal. And now, especially without Davis Bertans, I don't understand that trade. Raptors get Thaddeus Young and Drew Eubanks and a second-round pick. I don't understand why the Spurs traded Drew Eubanks. He was their backup big man. Now they're going to go with Zach Collins, who hasn't played in 2 years almost. That, I don't understand that. But the Raptors, man, they get Thaddeus Young. Thaddeus Young is a long guy, and he shoots threes, and he's a combo small forward, power forward. He could be a stretch 5 if he really needed to be. And Drew Eubanks is a young big man. And do you know what this does for the Raptors? They already have Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam, and all of these dudes long arms, and they're all super athletic and versatile. And they gave the Bulls a lot of nightmares because they don't have a real true center on this team. But everybody's between like size of 6'8" and 6'10", and they're super long and athletic and have these huge wingspans. So just adding a guy like Thaddeus Young and Drew Eubanks is a very good move for them because those guys are also long and athletic, and that's where you're just like, huh. You know, that is where you're just like, okay, cool. But, you know, that's an issue there. And then the Suns get Torrey Craig. They already had him before, so they know what they're getting, 3-and-D. That just helps out for their playoff run. They gave out Jalen Smith, one of their backups, but here's the thing. If you have Ayton healthy and they also have JaVale McGee healthy, I don't know what they're doing with Dario Saric, but at least they have a bunch of big men, so, you know, they get, you know, Pacers get Jalen Smith. They get another young player to help their team out and a second-round pick. Suns also get Aaron Holiday, so now they get themselves 2 3-and-D guys in Torrey Craig and Aaron Holiday and get some cash. Whoop-de-doo, that helps them out. The Magic, they get Bol and P.J. Dozier. Problem is, P.J. Dozier tore something, and he's going to be out for the year. And Bol is hurt, which is why his trade in the beginning of this, before the trade deadline, didn't happen. So the Magic are just getting 2 young guys that they're most likely going to cut. Bol, if he does play, they can just keep on to him on the bench. And the Celtics, who acquired both those guys in an earlier 3-trade trade with the Nuggets, they get a second-round pick, which doesn't help the Celtics because they're trying to win. Now, Sabonis, Justin Holiday, and Jeremy Lamb are going to the Kings. So the Kings first get Don DiVincenzo and Josh Jackson, 2 young players. Then they get Sabonis, who's an all-star. And they get Justin Holiday, who's a great role player, and Jeremy Lamb, who's an okay role player, and second-round pick. So they just revamped their whole team there and traded away Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. So basically, Sabonis is going to take Tristan Thompson's spot at the power forward spot, or even the stretch 5 spot. Trey Lyles is going to come in there and take Marvin Bagley's spot as a big man who actually wants to come off the bench and play. And Buddy Hield and Tyrese Haliburton, they're replaced by Don DiVincenzo, Josh Jackson, Justin Holiday, and Jeremy Lamb. It's going to take 4 guys to make up for those guys. Because the Lakers wanted Buddy Hield, Every single team wanted Buddy Hield. He was the main attraction in that DeMarcus Cousins trade because he's a great three-point shooter and he's a good wing player. The Kings already lost. They already lost Bogdanovich, the younger Bogdanovich, to the Atlanta Hawks in free agency, and they weren't able to get something back in that failed sign and trade with the Bucks. So they lost one great wing player already. They basically give up Buddy Hield and Tyrese Haliburton in the same trade to get Sabonis. I would not trade a guy like Buddy Hield, who's like all-star potential in his career, in the same trade as your guy Tyrese Haliburton, who's only been in the league for a couple of years, and this dude is becoming a great player in this league, and that's why he's taking away minutes from Buddy Hield. That's why, like, he's taking away minutes sometimes from Harrison Barnes, who's got to have to play the stretch four, which is taking away minutes from Marvin Bagley, because this is how good Tyrese Haliburton is. So the Pacers overnight get Tyrese Haliburton and Buddy Hield, and they, and it's just like, okay, cool. Like, that overnight makes their team a lot different now. Now that they have potentially Malcolm Brogdon, Duarte, Buddy Hield, and Tyrese Haliburton as the 1 through 3s on their team at any given time. And they're not going anywhere, so Tristan Thompson does not really help them. But it does help them in the long run because he could be bought out, Tristan Thompson, and go to another team, or they let him play the rest of the season and it's a expiring contract. That's the sort of situation there. So that's where I'm just like, okay, cool. I don't know in the end how that's going to help everybody included in this trade, because the problem with Sacramento Kings is even when they had De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Hield, Bogdanovich, and Marvin Bagley all playing on the same time and they're all in their power, the Kings can't make the playoffs. They fired Luke Walton already and they're on their interim coach Alvin Gentry. So I don't understand how Sabonis is going to replace whatever Marvin Bagley was giving you. Okay? I just don't get it. Without Tyrese Haliburton or Buddy Hield, I don't understand who's going to get those minutes at the small forward and the two-guard position that's not named Harrison Barnes. We already know that Harrison Barnes is a good role player. It does not really help at the end of the day who is going to play alongside De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis. Like, Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, that's not enough in the Western Conference. That's why having Tyrese Haliburton or Buddy Hield was a good thing. I don't understand this. Then the Blazers, they get rid of Norman Powell and Robert Covington as well. So the Clippers did a really good job. They get Rodney Hood and Semi Ojeleye, and now they get Norman Powell and Robert Covington, who are both 3-and-Ds. Covington is the ideal small forward. He's the ideal stretch forward. Norman Powell's a good role player. Like, that's a good thing there, okay? So Clippers in there in the 8th spot. They get 3-and-D guys and Semi Ojeleye and the draft right to somebody else. While the Blazers get Eric Bledsoe, who at this point is a backup point guard, but with Lillard injured, he's going to play a lot. And they also got Justice Winslow, who's never lived up to his potential in Miami and in Memphis, and now the Clippers. And they get Keon Johnson, second-round pick. Winslow may be playing in the Blazers, where they give him a lot of minutes at small forward or power forward, because they have a lot of open minutes now with all the trades they made. And this Keon Johnson guy, they may be young players to build around in the future, but Damian Lillard's got to be like, come on, man, you just traded away like some of my best players. And then they also traded C.J. McCollum, Larry Nance, and Tony Snell. The news is Larry Nance Jr. is going to have surgery, so he's going to miss time, so the Pelicans can't buy him out. But Tony Snell is a great defensive player. He's one of those guys who can do nothing on the court but still make an impact. And C.J. McCollum, we all know he's a multiple-time All-Star, one of the best shooting guards in the league. But did it work out in Washington with John Wall and Bradley Beal? No, it did not. The two of them were way too similar of, ball-dominant guards. Right now, we got Tatum and Brown, two dominant wing players. Is that really going to work out going forward? Can they get over the hump? So now we see that the Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum are both undersized guards. Does that really work out? The peak was going to the conference final that year and being lucky, and then with a lot of things going their way. Problem is McCollum has been injury-prone, and he just had a serious injury with a collapsed lung this year. And the best that C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard can actually do on a given basis is be an 8th seed or be in the play-in game before the 7th or 8th seed or this play-in game. So the Blazers, they just screwing over Damian Lillard and saying, we're going to give you Bledsoe and Justice Winslow and Keon Johnson and this Josh Hart guy, Setoreski, who's, again, a role player. He's just an older role player, and Josh Hart's a young role player. and this Didi Luzuda dude who like nobody knows, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So, and they get 2 first-round picks. 2 first-round picks do not really help out the Blazers unless they're going to take those 2 first-round picks. They're going to take Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson, Josh Hart, Satoransky, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, potentially, say, in a trade, and get somebody to help Damian Lillard. No, it's time for Damian Lillard to leave Portland. Stop being too, selfless and try to be loyal. Just go somewhere else. You deserve to go somewhere else. You're one of the best players of all time. Like, come on. Okay? The Jazz, though, decided, you know what? We just lost our buddy Joe Ingles for the rest of the year. So do you know what we need? We need another wing player who can score. So the Jazz gets in there, and they get Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who the Pelicans have to trade somebody young and athletic enough to entice the Blazers to trade McCollum in the first place. So, of course, that's the young guy. He's cousins of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's got talent. So the Jazz get this young player in Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They get Juan Hernan-Gomez, who's going to be their backup big man for Rudy Gobert, which is a good idea. And the Spurs then get Tomas Satoransky and a second-round picks. Satoransky, he, in my opinion, should be a potential buyout candidate because between him and Bledsoe, you got two guys who can handle the ball in place of Damian Lillard, but it's really not going to matter between the two of them. And the Blazers now get, so the Spurs get Satoransky, so now the Blazers don't have to worry about buying him out. The Spurs can get him. But unfortunately, he cannot reunite with Thaddeus Young because Thaddeus Young's in Toronto. So Satoransky, he could replace Derek White and Patty Mills as a ball-handling guard off the bench for the Spurs. But the Spurs are not a playoff team, so I feel like Satoransky is more of a buyout candidate, and they're going to use that second-round pick like they got the picks in the original trade, with the where they get stuff back. That's the sort of thing that the Spurs do. They get first-round pick and a swap from the Celtics. They get a second-round pick, and then the Raptors finally got rid of Goran Dragic, who didn't play for them. He's doing personal issues. And the Spurs basically get another second-round pick. So they get 2 second-round picks, a first-round pick, and a first-round pick swap, and Tomas Satoransky just to say, okay, Derek White, crowded backcourt, let's get rid of him. And then Satoransky, just to take on Satoransky and to take on Goran Dragic's contract, they get second-round picks. I feel like if Dragic is healthy, he's a buyout candidate because he can help somebody out. Because, again, the Spurs had too many guards, and that's why they traded Derek White. So by them getting Satoransky and getting Goran Dragic, that does not really help them out in the long run. Like, they don't need all of these guys. I just don't understand them trading Thaddeus Young and Drew Eubanks because that's just trading from a surplus of big men, and you're now returning to Zach Collins, who hasn't been healthy. But the Blazers get Joe Ingles. Well, guess what? He's not playing for the rest of the year. So really, the Blazers get this Elijah Hughes and a second-round pick. That does not help out Damian Lillard win. A nobody and a second-round pick. They get this Didi Luzuda. That's a nobody. They get Josh Hart, who's a nice role player, but he's not going to win you anything. And they got rid of Satoransky and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. One went to the Spurs and one went to the Jets. And they get 2 first-round picks. That doesn't help them win. Another second-round pick. That doesn't help them out win. Keon Johnson again, a young nobody along with D. Luzuda and Josh Hart. That doesn't help them. Justice Winslow and Eric Bledsoe and Josh Hart, D. Luzuda, and this Elijah Hughes and 2 second-round picks and a bunch of first-round picks. That does not help the Blazers win. You can't trade a bunch of that crap and draft picks and get somebody else. Okay, and then the other move is the Cavaliers get Keras Levert. Keras Levert. The Nets gave up on him when they built that big 3 along with Jared Allen. Now the two of them are reunited together, and the Cavaliers have him to replace Ricky Rubio, who's injured, and Colin Sexton. So imagine next year, you got Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, Keras Levert, Isaac Okoro, this Evan Mobley dude, and Jared Allen as your 6th main players. One of those guys are going to have to come off the bench. I saw Keras Levert firsthand. That dude just destroyed the Bulls because they're like, well, the Pacers don't have Brogdon out there and they don't have other guys, and it's Duarte the rookie, so he's just going to do all the scoring and all the offense, and he almost scored 40 points on the Bulls multiple times. This dude is just explosive. He's battled some injuries, some health scare, but when this guy's healthy, the Cavaliers are a young team. They're not going to make the championship this year, but going forward, if Darius Garland and Jared Allen have the all-star experience this year, you bring Colin Sexton back, and you got Kevin Love and Ricky and Rajon Rondo are coming off the bench together, that's great. And in that trade, the Pacers get Ricky Rubio. Well, guess what? Pacers not going in, and Ricky Rubio is not going to play for them, so it does not matter, especially with the backcourt that they just assembled, the Buddy Hield and Tyrese Haliburton with Brogdon and Duarte. Rubio would never have played. He would have been a buyout candidate if he was healthy. And then the Pacers get themselves a first and 2 second-round picks. So again, they're like, cool, we're getting ourselves some draft players and some young guys. So the Pacers, they're going to be good next year. And the Thunder trade this KZ Okpala. Get this KZ Okpala guy from the Heat and give a second-round pick. The other move was this Cam Reddish trade that I also never understood this, because guess what's happened with Cam Reddish? The reports are that Tom Thibodeau did not want to play him. And because he doesn't want to play him, and we don't understand why the GM in the first place traded for him, okay? Because I saw this guy single-handedly destroy the Bulls with his three-point shooting, and it's just a clutch play and stuff like that. But, yeah. So basically what you look at is the Knicks realized Kevin Knox was a bust. So they're like, you can have Kevin Knox and a first-round pick, but we'll take veteran Solomon Hill. Well, he's out for the year, so that doesn't help. So they get Reddish, who's the best player in the trade, and a second-round pick in cash. So you thought the Knicks get the best player in the trade, an expiring contract to build up cap space, and a second-round pick in cash. This is where I don't understand sometimes when GMs and coaches are not, on the same page. But that's where I'm just like, at the end of the day, I will never understand why some teams made trades. The Nets and the Sixers basically blew up their chances of winning the championship this year because James Harden and Joel Embiid, you got to take advantage of winning it now. Embiid's actually healthy. I don't know what you're getting from Ben Simmons. You never know what Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant's coming back from injury. Are they going to have enough time to do it? I think the Celtics made a great move by getting Derek White for 2 role players. And yeah, they give up a first-round pick, but it's a bad first-round pick and a swap. And they get Daniel Tice, and they just have to give up a backup and Enes Kanter, who at this point is going to buyout candidate for the Rockets. And they think that Daniel Tice is better situated for the team. So if Daniel Tice and Derek White are better for the Celtics going forward, that's good for them. I don't understand the Pistons trade getting Marvin Bagley when they have the set front court. He's just in the same situation that he was in Sacramento. And the Kings, I understand this. They're redoing their backcourt with Don DiVincenzo and Josh Jackson. And Trey Lyles just replacing, Tristan Thompson in the front court. The Clippers, though, I understand this. They get Rodney Hood and Sime Olajay. That helps out them trying to make the playoffs. And the Bucks just fortify their front court and Serge Ibaka. But I don't get trading Don DiVincenzo. He's so important in this team defensively and three-point wise. I understand why Charlotte got Montrezl Harrell. They need some more front court depth if they're trying to make the playoffs because their team, Plumlee is their center, is not the world's greatest center. I think they miss Cody Zeller. I know that's something that's weird. But Ish Smith is like the third or fourth ball handler on this team, and they don't care about the other guy. The Raptors getting Thaddeus Young and Drew Eubanks just helps them in the playoffs with more length and versatility because they don't have a lot of big men, and those two guys will help out in the front court. I just don't know why the Spurs traded away from their front court because they have to rely on Zach Collins now. The Spurs take on Goran Dragic and Sotoreski, 2 ball handlers, and they get second-round picks, and they're known to do well with second-round picks and late first-round picks. But again, both those guys are trading, guys to be, bought out and go somewhere else because they're not going to help them. But now they have too many guards again, even though Patty Mills and Derek White are gone. The Suns fortifying, getting Torrey Craig and Aaron Holiday just to give up a second-round pick and a backup big man in cash. That helped them because they're trying to win the championship. The Magic get 2 injured players, but then they get themselves a second-round pick and cash. They basically, the Celtics go, we want to get some money and a second-round pick. We want to, we just want to get under luxury tax, clear some cap space, trade away these 2 injured players the Nuggets gave us in a trade earlier a couple of weeks ago. So the Magic, if Peter Jordan was actually healthy, he probably would have been traded. Bol has been traded once before. I will not get the Kings trade because Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes is not going to win anything in the playoffs. When the Kings were at their peak with De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley, and Bogdan Bogdanovic, they didn't do anything. That's number 1. Then you had Tyrese Haliburton, and that still didn't do anything because they were just pressing Bogdanovic, who left. So that's not a great trade. Justin Holiday, Jeremy Lamb, those guys don't matter. It's the fact that they gave up on Tyrese Haliburton, somebody who the draft experts said the Bulls should have drafted with their pick in the draft, and instead, the Bulls drafted Patrick Williams, and the Kings got Haliburton, who dropped, and he turned out to be a great player. But Heels wanted to get out of there for years. We never trade a valuable player who wants to get out of here with a young core player of your team and think, okay, we're going to get better by getting Baby Sabonis. That's not helpful. So that trade's not going to make sense because the Kings are not going to make the playoffs this year and next year. The Pacers are just getting better despite trading Keras, Levert, which made no sense, but maybe they knew they were going to get both Buddy Hield and Tyrese Haliburton to replace Keras, Levert. And if that was the thing, the Pacers are smart then. They get two guys instead of one. Blazers, again, reinforcing their team with Rodney Hood, Norman Powell, and Robert Covington, and all you got to give up is a bunch of junk. Like, that's the sort of thing. You give a bunch of junk, no offense to Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, and Keon Johnson, and whatever draft picks. They're trying to make the playoffs because there's a chance that they could be a 7th or 8th seed and be in that play-in game. And the Pelicans, they knew that the way that the Blazers season was going, they can get CJ McCollum and Tony Snell to help them right now. Because right now they have no idea if Zion's ever going to play again. So it's about Ingram. It's Ingram's team, and they needed somebody else to help him with the scoring. And McCollum, if he's healthy, will help them out. Okay? And they got some good role players on that team, and they have to give up Nickeil Alexander-Walker. But you have to do that in order to get an all-star in CJ McCollum. Larry Nance is not going to play because he's going to be hurt. But then the Blazers get themselves Josh Hart, Didi Luzuda, and Elijah Hughes and some draft picks. That'll help them. Joe Ingles, if he becomes a free agent, that clears cap space. But I feel bad for Damian Lillard because to say that you got yourself Josh Hart and you got yourself Bledsoe and Justice Winslow and a bunch of other guys, and you don't even get to keep the best player in the trade, which is Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you trade him, that's where you got to explain to Damian Lillard, oh, we got a young player, but we traded him, so I feel bad there. Spurs, I already mentioned, they get two point guards potentially. They're going to buy them out. They get rid of the front court depth. And the Cavaliers, they won. They got Keras, Levert for Ricky Rubio, a first-round pick in 2 seconds. And if they're a playoff team, their first-round pick is going to suck, and who needs second-round picks? That's really going to help them out. Keras, Levert is going to help them out because they don't have Colin Sexton. They're not going to win anything because young teams don't win, but yeah. So definitely, I don't know what's happening with the trade of Simmons versus Harden. You never know. The Wizards trade for getting Porzingis for Bertans and Wendell, I'm going to say that's a thumbs down. Those two guys were a part of your guys' winning. Porzingis never healthy. Celtics, thumbs up for getting Derek White and Daniel Tice. Okay? Whatever the Rockets are going to do in the buyout market, whatever the Kings are going to get in this involved trade and all these trades, it doesn't matter. Pistons getting Marvin Bagley, I don't know. Clippers reinforcing with Rodney Hood, Semi Ojeleye, and the likes of Covington and Powell. Those are thumbs up. You didn't have to give up that much to get those guys there, okay? Bucks getting Serge Ibaka to go up, that's a plus. But I don't know, really, it's somewhat here giving up Donte DiVincenzo. Hornets getting Montrezl for a bunch of junk, that's a good move. Raptors getting Thaddeus Young and Drew Eubanks, that's a thumbs up. The thumb down for Spurs trading not just one of but both those guys. And I don't get why they got those two guards. That's like, I don't know. Suns getting Aaron Holiday and Torrey Craig for junk to fortify themselves, that's good. Celtics acquiring Bol Bol, P.J. Dozier, and then trading them, I don't know what to do with that. The Pacers, they get a thumbs up. They got Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson for Sabonis, who they were trying to trade because he and Miles Turner don't work together. So they get a thumbs up for that. Like, they also get Jalen Smith back for Torrey Craig, so they get another young player. That's a thumbs up on their part there. The Blazers, they get a thumbs down because they get Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, and a bunch of junk and don't even keep Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They trade CJ McCollum and some of their best role players. Don't get a lot back for them against draft picks. The Jazz are giving a thumbs up. Even though Joe Ingles is hurt, they turned his injury and some draft picks and threw some things around in order to get Nickeil Alexander-Walker to help him out now and going forward. And the Cavaliers, they get a thumbs up for getting Keras, Levert by trading Rubio and some draft picks. They were originally going to get a thumbs down because they traded away Keras, because the Pacers were going to get a thumbs down and they traded Keras, Levert, but nobody told me they were going to get Buddy Hield and Tyrese Haliburton. Come on. And I'm giving the Knicks a thumbs down for trading for Cam Reddish if you're not going to trade him in the freaking first. You're not going to even play him in the first place. Okay? Thanks for listening to a long edition of NBA 2021-22 trade deadline recap. For On the Radar Blog, I'm Radar. See you guys next time.